I have concern, a. The humans a have a found a way a to me understand us.
You're putting a lot of A's in your speech.
Use pig meowt in throwing in meowdom words. So they throw them off with their translation program. Meow.
Translation, yay. Program A.
Yeah, A. And we'll get around them just for contrary purposes.
A.
Meow. A.
Can't have them discovering ARA plans, A.
No.
A.
Yes, be on lap A. And eat sausage A. On Saturday, yay.
A.
May.
Secrets say.
Yes, yay. Meow. A. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet-Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet-Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast for two queer trans women. That's us.
It's us.
We're wifey types.
Yeah.
Talk about media, nerdy stuff we've consumed in the week. And I definitely wasn't mid-yawn when I suddenly had to introduce your name.
You recovered so quickly, so well.
I shut that yawn down. I was like, nope, I am awake. I am in work mode. How are you doing?
I'm alright. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm tired. I'm tired. Today has been a day of emotions.
Roller coaster.
I've been through the roller coaster of feelings, and I'm now here.
You're here?
Yeah.
Okay. What sort of level are we at now then?
I'm at the level where I'm ready to talk about stuff I played this week.
Well, then talk about things you played this week. What have you played?
Well, I might as well start with the one that has been today's emotion of roller coaster of feelings. I started playing Life is Strange Double Exposure.
That's two exposures.
Yeah, Life is Strange Double Exposure, which, before I even talk about that game, I gotta talk about all the context that goes into talking about it, which starts about 2 years ago when I consulted on accessibility in that game.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so this is one of a number of games I've done work on in the last X number of years. But
and this is the first one you're allowed to
This is the
talk
first
about
one of the big ones where I'm allowed to point at it and go, I did stuff on this one. The short version of the story is, in September 2021, I did an accessibility review of Life is Strange True Colors, and then in early 2023, I got reached out to by Square Enix, and they were like, hey, we want you to come be part of a little round table of accessibility people to look at some stuff we're planning and have some conversations with us. Are you up for that? And it turned out, once I saw those documents pretty clearly, it turned out there's a new Life is Strange game with Max coming back as the protagonist, it sure seems. And there's my video what I did about accessibility listed in a document about a company trying to work out how to be accessible.
Yeah.
And then they asked me questions about how to be accessible. So that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And now
it's now.
Now that the first 2 episodes of that game are out, and the rest of it's out in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it has been a road to get to today. I will very quickly acknowledge a couple of things that happened along that road because feels right to I got to acknowledge things. June, I think it is, of 2024, there was an article on IGN that was a lot to read as a person who couldn't talk about having worked on this game. It was an article about the fact that at least one person working at developer Deck 9 was sneaking Nazi dog whistles into the game, and that management did not take that seriously when it was reported, and at least one racist, sexist bigot was working in an executive position at that company, which wasn't great.
No.
But I had conversations off the record with some people who work at that studio, and was reassured that, if that studio ended up being a little bit of a battleground between some shitty people and people fighting to make that game progressive, the people who were fighting to make that game progressive were not going to go down without a fight, and some really cool stuff had made it into the game, and I was like, I have complicated feelings, but I feel like I should be able to be proud of what I contributed to that game, and I'm glad that it seems like ultimately the people trying to make cool progressive shit won out the day. Also, I will be in the credits of this game. I'm not there yet. That was a fun 24 hours of learning I wasn't in the credits for the game, and having to do the maths of, have I been deliberately not included, or did something go wrong accidentally? Turns out not malicious. These things are complicated.
Yeah.
I will be there. It's been a whole mess of things.
Emotions.
But we got there, and it's out, and I can talk about it, and I've played some of it. I've not had a huge amount of time, because the first 2 chapters came out like a couple of hours before we record.
You had skits to write.
Today, yeah, I had skits to write, I had dinner to have, but also managed to wedge a little bit of it in, so... I wanted to, like, obviously the caveats of I worked on this game, so take my opinions with a massive grain of salt, but
as a fan of the series...
As a fan of the series, I have really interesting thoughts about, like, the first, I'm gonna say maybe hour of Life is Strange Double Exposure, so... I want to talk about the original Life is Strange very quickly. First, it's a game about a character called Max Caulfield who discovers she has the power to rewind time. She discovers this because she watches a blue-haired girl called Chloe get shot in a bathroom and then accidentally rewinds time so that doesn't happen. And for anyone who's not played that original game, that series of episodes builds up to a choice that people refer to as Bay versus Bay. BAE versus BAY.
Yep.
A big part of the final choice of that game is, are you willing to let an entire town of people maybe die in order to save a hot girl?
Not to save Michael Bay.
Not to save Michael Bay. I think the game's about a decade old. I don't feel like it's the worst thing to say that choice exists. And there is a follow-up series comic that sort of assumes that you definitely saved a hot blue-haired girl, and various, oh no, the timeline is falling apart, realities are splitting, I'm being pulled between parallel timelines, shenanigans start happening. But it very much sits in a reality where that relationship continues. Double Exposure, I think for many people, the thing that's going to be divisive about it is this game starts, and no matter how the first Life is Strange ended for you, you start this game as Max is returning, and you are not in that moment in a relationship with Chloe. Either because she is not alive, or because between the events of the first game and the second game, the two of you broke up.
Okay.
And without getting into specifics about why that breakup occurred, I think it's genuinely fascinating. I came into this skeptical. I came into this going, I fucking let a town get wiped off the map for her. In my mind, I'm like, these two, inseparable, there is nothing that could tear this relationship apart. And very quickly in the first episode, like, they recognize that this is the elephant in the room, they've got to address it. And they found something that for me really works. It was emotionally wrenching as someone who was a big fan of that relationship, but it felt very real. It felt painful in a way that, like, I feel like what I felt as a player probably mirrored what the two people themselves went through in that breakup. And in terms of a game that really does start on experiences of trying to deal with sudden feelings of loss about a thing that you thought would always be there, they've mirrored the way that I think the fan base is going to respond. Like, the way that fans are going to respond to this is very intentionally in line with the emotions of the characters involved. It's going to be divisive. There are going to be people who are not going to like that. Having played the opening hour or so, I'm not opposed. I think it's really interesting, and I'm very curious to see what they do with it. My other main thoughts, having played basically far enough to get to the inciting incident of this game. The equivalent is if in the first Life is Strange I had played basically as far as Chloe getting shot and me rewinding time. That's like essentially...
The second time you learn about the Degarian.
The daguerreotypes.
Daguerreotypes.
Yeah, French style of self-portrait, daguerreotypes. Yeah, I've played to this game's... The event we're going to be spending the whole game, like, trying to find out about. I really like this game's writing so far, in terms of how it has written Max as basically, I'm going to say, 25-year-old autistic lesbian. with anxiety. And I'm like, that's always clearly, like, where she was going, but I respect they've done a lot to modernize the writing of this anxious autistic lesbian in a way that I think is beautiful. She is still a little bit, like, awkward. How do I put this? As much as, like, the first game is a little laughable in some of the writing, there are points where it feels like adults writing teenagers. It's not.
I don't think it's hecka accurate to how children of that age. I guess they'd be what, Gen Alpha? Gen Z?
I feel it millennial.
Really?
I don't know. But point is, they've not taken that slightly cringe element out, but what it's changed from is adults writing teenagers into millennial adults knowingly writing millennial adults who are like, yeah, maybe they're going to quote a TikTok meme that's a few years out of date, but also if there's anyone a couple of years younger in the scene around them, they're probably going to get some "that's a weird reference you made" looks about it. Like, it's a lot more knowing of the slightly cringe nature of its conversation, which I think works. It feels more grounded. It feels more confident in conversational nuance than the original game did.
Right.
I'm really liking a lot of the writing. I've not played enough to have a firm idea of where this is going. I've not even made it to the first instance of the new power that exists in this, which is hopping between parallel realities as opposed to rewinding time. So I've not even made it that far in yet. But I'm pretty into it as a person that was skeptical once I started hearing that, like, hey, Max and Chloe aren't going to be together at the start of this. You're going to have to win me over. You're going to have to win me over. It's selling me on that choice.
The game that gave you blue hair.
Right. It feels like one of those things where I really respect what this game is doing, but I feel like this is going to be a Mass Effect 3 ending, in that, like, this is going to be one of those games where I die on the hill that this was the right choice to make while everyone tells me, no, I want my happy games that I was already invested in. And I'm like, I get it, but sometimes the story just gotta give you an emotional gut punch, and then you deal with consequences. Consequences are fun in narrative sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you get the best narratives out of a bad role.
Yeah, and I am excited to see what they do with the choices they've made. As much as I love the idea of Max and Chloe are definitely together when the story starts, follow up to the original Life is Strange, if you want that, go read the comics. Like, I don't think they need it. As much as part of me would have been into the idea of just an adaptation of the comics already exist. I don't think we need that story twice. I think it is interesting to have a different version of what comes next.
Yeah. Out of interest, is there anything specific, like, it's like, how did you end the last game?
Yeah.
Bay or bay?
So, no matter what happens, you are this version of Max carries a photo of Chloe around in her purse.
Right.
And someone that you are friends with, post time skip, starts asking you about it.
Right.
And how you answer what happened, what were you to. Like, you don't give too much away initially in the first chapter. Like, you're clearly a little not ready to talk about it. But you get poked and prodded enough that you give, like, were we just friends or were we in a relationship? Is she dead or did we break up? Who were we? And it's clearly, like, it's a very natural way to put those choices in your hands.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's going to start from a place of you two are not currently together. Mm-hmm. And I don't disagree with that choice, because this game is not about Max being able to change things with rewind powers. You cannot use rewind at the start of this game. That is not a thing that Max has been able to do for a while. And having that along the backdrop of things that you maybe want to be the case, you can't go back and have them the way you want. You're kind of stuck with things the way they happen to be. I think putting that on the player and also on Max, I think, is interesting.
I mean, it works for me because I, for complicated reasons of overthinking perhaps, chose Bay. B-A-Y.
Yeah, you didn't throw the town away for girl.
She said not to do that. So I was like, yeah, but what if I save her and then like she's resentful of the whole situation?
Hey,
So in my version of this,
I'll say this. You maybe weren't the most wrong to overthink that. You maybe weren't the most wrong to overthink that. It's interesting that you say that.
that was my thought at the time.
And look,
because I didn't consider the possibility that things might sort of seemingly end on an upbeat tone.
It's
until
not.
we were talking about it.
Yeah,
together.
that is not the entirety of what's going on, but that's definitely at least part of the mess of things. So that's the thing. I remembered that conversation we had while I was playing this first episode, and I was like, yeah. But
it's not going to be as much of a wrench for me.
Yeah, but I was
like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but I was playing as like an emotionally charged lesbian teenager that was like, no, I would do literally everything to have my lesbian right now and drive into the sunset.
I get you.
You know, that's just the vibe I brought to that playthrough.
I get you. I get it. I understand. And when you told me that was an option, and like that it seemingly worked out for you, at the time I was like, oh no, what have I done?
Playing this first episode, I don't know whether I did the right or wrong thing in the first one, but I know that in the moment I'd have never made a different choice. And I gotta be okay with that, and I think that the game juggles with that interestingly. But yeah, Life is Strange Double Exposure. Don't take my opinions for anything. I can't be trusted. What about you? What you been playing?
We played together, and we played some of the Silent Hill 2 remake.
We played a good chunk, like a good part of a weekend's worth of Silent Hill 2 remake.
We got like most of the way through Arkmiller Hospital.
Yeah.
No, Brookhaven Hospital.
Yeah. We have played a good amount of that, and correct me if you disagree, my first takeaway has been, I really thought Bloober would bloober this up more.
I mean, we haven't had a depression wow or whatever the fuck it was.
We've not yet had any character go, it would be better if I just fucking killed myself to, that's the only solution for mental health.
I mean, no one that wouldn't almost do that in the original game anyway.
Well, yeah, no one who's, like, glorified that as, like, the good ending of the game, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it has lost something for this change. I think that Bloober Team have done what they do well in this. Like, they do disgusting very well.
Yes.
Like, and obviously Silent Hill is known for its toilets.
Yeah.
And this game sure has a lot of really gross fucking toilets.
It does. It sure does make shoving your arm into a weird hole in a wall real gross.
It does, like gross, degrading scenery and stuff. I think some of the things that, like I haven't played the original Silent Hill 2 in a really long time, and I feel like the whole transition to the Dark World thing happens way more subtly than it ever did in the original.
Agreed, yeah.
Like, there's been several times where I've just gone, are we in the Dark World?
It sort of creeps up on you a bit.
Yeah, it feels less like the switch has been flipped, and now we are in Dark World versus Light World.
And I'm not opposed to that.
I guess.
I don't think it's inherently better or worse. I think it's a different choice.
Yeah. And I think that the texture work on that sort of thing works really well. I think the creatures, for the most part, have stayed true to their originals.
Yeah.
The nurses with the scalpels. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that they've got like some extra black on them gives them a real stormtrooper vibe. Or something like that. There is something like distinctly stormtrooper about.
I don't disagree with you on that.
The black ones, them being the slightly harder, which feels like a weird vibe, considering what is supposed to be like, what everything is supposed to be like, representing and coming from. There are a couple of scenes where characters' facial animations are just off for what is happening in the moment. Like, when that leg creature gets sort of thrown in front of James, and we have the James in a closet with the red pyramid doing whatever the fuck is happening with the other leg creature.
I mean, I think we can see what is happening.
I think we're supposed to know what is implied from it, but there certainly aren't any obvious genitals involved. And Red Pyramid does not take off their apron at any point. So, you know, like, I get what it is trying to conjure, but, like, whatever the fuck is actually happening in that beyond making James think of something aggressive and sexual.
Yeah.
There's, like, a couple of things that obviously still work from the original, like the whole, like, you don't really have to attack Pyramid Head, or Red Pyramid when you encounter, really, like, you do a few hits, and it's more about, like, the time taken and just kiting.
Yeah, just staying the fuck away from this thing that will kill you if it gets a chance.
The few problems I've had with it are, firstly, I think the switch to an over-the-shoulder camera gives it less atmosphere. I think there is something, like, distinctly atmospheric about that sort of voyeuristic camera of like, that flick camera. Like, don't get me wrong, I would get annoyed if a creature was just on the edge of one camera view and you're trying to fight something just out of range, or you've been, like, knocked back into a different camera angle. I get the annoyance of that, but I think there was always something, like, really dramatic and that felt oddly voyeuristic, which again plays with, like, some of the ideas of the game. And I get that was a limitation of hardware at the time, but I guess that's just me. That's just me, and, like, that's not the worst problem to have with a game.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is the increased reliance on combat in this. Yes, there was potentially a lot of combat in the original, but there was also a really good chance of just avoiding shit.
Yeah.
For the most part, you could, like, run past a lot of things, dodge away from a lot of things, and it feels like, especially in areas where there's, like, 3-4 more enemies appearing, especially if, like, one of them's, like, a fast-moving scuttling along the floor, or one of them's one of those small bug creatures that you can't always even spot, especially in once you've gone to Dark World.
Yeah.
If those things are scuttling around on the floor, like, you'll hear the static going off on the radio. It's like, I can't fucking see the thing. It's not in my torchlight.
The thing is, it would have required a little bit of suspension of disbelief, perhaps. But I think a lot of it would have been solved by if the monsters could not open doors. Or, generally speaking, were not able to open doors.
Or if they just moved a bit slower.
Yeah. Because, like, there's a sequence I think of where you're first running to... It's the second apartment building you go to.
The blue something apartment.
Yeah. When you're heading there, the fog gets really thick, and there's, like, suddenly a shit ton more monsters than usual in the streets.
And the wind picks up.
And you can barely see where you're going, but you have the key and you know you're trying to get to these apartments. And that, I think, works, because, like, that is a thing where it's like, there are so many monsters, I'm clearly not meant to be fighting them all, I can barely see them, it would be impractical, I just gotta get to that door, get that door shut behind me, and then I don't have to think about those monsters.
Yeah.
And I think if some of that was more clearly established, where, like, if you're in a room and there's, like, too many things, or even just a thing you don't have the resources to deal with, you could just run past it and know that if that door shuts firmly behind you, there is a separation and you can just kind of breathe for a second and go, I ran past it, that's fine.
Yeah, that thing, at least, isn't going to get you for now. Yeah. But there might still be something in this room.
Whereas the problem is, I'm not convinced that if I shut a door behind me, the thing won't just open the door and still be my problem.
Yes.
And therefore I feel like I have to methodically deal with everything. And that does take something away. Because, like, we talked about this. The balance of the combat in this is not to, on normal, is not to either of our preference.
No, because it feels like there's not enough ammo, and there is such a constant, not enough ammo and not enough health, and there is such a constant supply of things that you have to fight.
Yes.
That you can't, that like, it makes playing extraordinarily difficult for someone of my skill level.
Agreed, same.
I'm sure other people are having a just fine time with that.
But yeah, that's part of the thing as well, is that, like, because I feel like I have to fight everything, and because of the way the resources are balanced, I feel like I have to do melee, I'm constantly more concerned with where is the next bit of ammo or health so that I can get myself back to stability, not because death itself is scary, but because I don't want to redo this room like 4 times in a row.
Yeah, and we only turned the difficulty down because we'd got to a point where we had, even like our last 2 like backtrack saves, we only had like 2 health drinks and a load of monsters to fight on the way there, that even like the couple of times we attempted to get back to the point we were at with like slightly more health, we just didn't make it, or even in some cases ended up in a worse situation.
And not only have we, I think, been having a better time since turning the difficulty down, I think it has highlighted something about the way this game deals with its monsters, which is, even if we weren't fighting all of them, but I think fighting all of them kind of makes the problem more apparent, is these creatures feel way more familiar. Because even if you're good at this game, even if you're good at fighting these creatures, the number of times that you're going to feel compelled to engage with them, to learn their patterns, to fight them, to kill them, is going to make them feel more overcomeable and less like they did in the original, which was these things that most of the time, like a lot of the time, the best answer is to run because these things are unreasonable to kill. And you either get good at killing them in this one, or you don't progress.
Yeah,
and
like there are like, I'm not good at Dark Souls games, but like I got to a point where it felt like I was doing that thing that people talk about with Dark Souls games of, okay, I can tell it's about to telegraph this move, so I do like 2 swings, then I do a dodge to either side. Okay, now it's doing this, now I need to do a dodge back twice because it's going to do 1 really wide swing and then 1 over the head swing, and then I can start going back in for it.
But that doesn't feel tonally good in this kind of game, because the thing is in like a Dark Souls, that feels good because you are like the power fantasy working out how to overcome these impossible odds, and you're going to come out the other end of this going, fuck yeah, I beat you, I'm so good at this. That's not the feeling that a survival horror game typically is aiming for. Like, you should get out of a fight feeling, oh my god, I'm so lucky I survived that. And forcing you to play it like a Dark Souls just doesn't feel like it meshes with that aim.
No.
And, because the thing is, there are things I really like about this remake.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I really like what they've done with the narrative, with the cutscenes, with the puzzle design. I think like some of the expanded and slightly reworked puzzles have been really neat.
It's been like because we watched the Modern Vintage Gamer video about this, and like you mentioned in that, it's nice that for people who have played a decent amount of Silent Hill 2, that you can come back in this and experience the story plus a few extra bits that aren't totally bloobered up as far as everyone can tell so far. But that the puzzle aspects are different but feel familiar.
Yeah.
They do definitely feel like Silent Hill puzzles.
Yep.
Like rearrange books, rearrange this, that, and the other. Follow chains through the hospital until you find the thing that gives you the thing that opens the box.
There's moments in the narrative as well where I think they have, and I never expected this to be the case from Luba, where I think they have improved on aspects of the original narrative. There's one I think about in particular at the, what's the strip club called?
Heaven's Night.
Heaven's Night. There is a moment at Heaven's Night where James is offered a drink and just stares at it a little too long before saying no. And like, it's a subtle, wordlessly done thing that I think was like, you really took advantage of the fact that you had higher fidelity to add something to this scene that I think works really well. And there's a few moments like that where I'm like, you genuinely added something by revisiting this narrative, and I want to see what you do with the rest of this narrative, despite not wanting the combat to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've preferred it on easy, has been, with the combat, has been, it's cool and scary to see a monster for the first time, but I don't want beating my head against it to get in the way of getting to see what this game has to show.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is playing with the combat on easy it's kind of swung it the other way. We've rarely got less than 100 handgun ammo.
Yeah.
We've usually got at least 5 or 6 of each type of health item.
And part of me is almost like maybe we turn the difficulty
we just keep flicking it back and forth.
we turn it back up for a bit while we have the resources to be in that struggle, and then when they run low, maybe turn it back to easy to build back up a bit.
Yeah.
There's no good in-between difficulty that feels right for us.
No.
Which is a weird... That was never the problem I thought I would have with this remake.
No. Yeah, I think there's like lots of different ways you could tweak the combat to make it feel more right. But, like that's just not going to happen.
No.
It is what it is. It's out there now. I mean, basically, I would just probably end up keeping it on easy combat because the combat is more annoying than anything else.
It is ultimately, I think.
Like,
Yeah.
I remember, like, I really struggled with the first 3 Silent Hills until I played all the way through Silent Hill 4 and realised that, like, the point is that the combat is inefficient, that you are not good with guns, your makeshift weapons are kind of shit, so you fight what you have to and you run the rest of the time. And Silent Hill 4 taught me that, and that made me go and play through 2 and 3 multiple times.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, 3 became my favourite, but, like, I always have a special place for 4, even though, like, a lot of people go, it's not really a Silent Hill game.
And, like, I'll say this. If this is the biggest problem I have with this, I think it's a very overcomable problem. Not with this game. I don't think they're going to go in and patch this one.
No.
But let's say Bloober Team got invited back to do another remake of another classic Silent Hill. I would far rather that the criticism they need to take on board and deal with is one of how they balance their combat. That's a much easier thing to suggest to them than if the problem had been they bloobered up the narrative. I'd have had a lot less faith in them. But I think it says something that I've come away from what we've played of this so far going, if Bloober Team were announced to be doing another remake, it wouldn't be the worst thing I'd ever heard. And, like, they've won back a degree of me not being reviled by their name being attached to something that I didn't expect them to.
Yeah. High contrast mode. There's high contrast mode.
Yeah, there's high contrast mode.
There's a whole bunch of accessibility stuff, which you'll talk about on Friday.
Yeah, there's a pretty good suite of stuff in there. It's not all perfect, but I, again, was not expecting as robust from a company that didn't really do much with accessibility in the past, did not expect for them to, like, swing for the fences on it.
Yeah, things I really appreciated in this are the night mode.
Yes,
like
for dynamic volume range reduction.
Just slightly all
slightly more
together.
Consistent volume levels.
Yeah, it's better so that you're not upsetting the neighbours.
Yeah.
Among other things.
Yeah.
Like, also, like, with the TISM, just, like, keep the dynamic range fairly narrow.
Agreed.
Please. Yeah.
Hold button for QTE.
Hold button for QTE.
Have button prompt on screen for QTE.
Have size.
Yeah.
Change the size of, like, various all the different button prompts, which I appreciated. The like, glimmer distance for there is a thing.
How much does this sparkle and tell you it's there? Yeah.
Yeah, and how big the interact buttons on all of that stuff is.
And do the interact buttons say the button you need to press on them?
Yep. Again, I appreciated, like, the granular nature of that. I appreciated that there was a bunch of different 3 different text options or font options.
Yep.
Including Open Dyslexic.
Yep.
I didn't go with that, but the standard font is quite a nice sans serif basic
Honestly,
font.
it's a nice default font. There's a lot of stuff to like in that accessibility offering.
Definitely.
Again, I'm willing to put up with, we put the combat on easy and it's no longer a challenge, it's just a little bit sort of there. If that's the worst problem I have with this, this is the most I've enjoyed a Konami-published or Silent Hill thing in a while.
Yeah.
And Bloober Team's involved, so fucking colour me impressed.
Imagine if they could fix Silent Hill Origins, Silent Hill Homecoming, and what was the other one?
Oh, yes, Shattered Memories?
No, Shattered Memories was good. Origins? No, Origins, Homecoming. There's another one, but I can't
my brain is going through the names of them, trying to find them. I'm like, nope. I'm pulling the wrong names.
Book of Memories, maybe.
Oh, Book of Memories. Maybe it might have been. Yeah,
I can't remember, but yeah,
that might be why Memories was in my head.
Memories.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2. Better than anticipated.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we can get some more good Silent Hill games that aren't pachinko machines.
That is the dream.
What about you? Have you played anything else?
I'm going to put this in the played section.
What?
I have the new Nintendo hardware. Ooh!
Oh shit! You've got the new
Nintendo hardware. The new hardware from Nintendo. Everyone's excited.
There's been all those leaks about it.
Yeah, you know what it is.
I do.
Alarmo!
Yeah.
So yeah, Nintendo Alarmo is an alarm clock, but it's a very Nintendo alarm clock, because Nintendo fundamentally is a toy company that wants to make weird shit.
And they sure have gamified waking up.
They sure have gamified waking up. The short version of this is it's a little red alarm clock with a digital screen on it, and a dial/button on top. You can rotate it or push it down, and also it lights up.
Mm-hmm.
And you can select from 35, I believe it is, different scenes from 5 different games that are, like, they're scenes to do with Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Pikmin 4, Splatoon 3, and Ring Fit Adventure. And you pick, like, I don't know, Battle with a Stone Talus, or Great Fairy Fountain Music, or whatever. And the idea is, as long as you are single, and we'll talk about what happens if you're not single in a minute.
Which is
but if you're single, the way that this is sort of intended to work is the alarm goes off, and it's got motion sensing in it. So if you when the alarm's gone off, you're moving around, sounds start happening from the clock to do with you waking up. So like a battle with the Stone Talus, I'm moving around in bed, and like bow and arrow shots are happening as I move. And then it motion senses you getting up out of bed and plays a little fanfare or whatever. Except that doesn't really work if you have more than one person in the bed. It gets confused. It doesn't know what to do with that.
Especially if the other person gets up.
Yeah, if one person gets up but one doesn't, it gets very confused. There is an option to just hit a button to stop it. But the idea is that, like, if you leave it going, it'll start from, like, gentle music at a reasonable volume, and if you just leave it uninterrupted, it will eventually, like, escalate in intensity and volume to, there's fucking guardians shooting lasers at you, get the fuck out of bed, what are you doing? There's a couple of other things it does. It does, like, sleep tracking. If you get into bed after a time you've set as bedtime, it'll, like, do, like, 10 minutes of gentle, calming music from that game universe to just sort of be like, hey, here's some nice chill while you get into bed.
Yeah, I remember the first night you did it, because you originally tried to set it up down here.
Yeah.
And then you were like, it's monitoring that I've been lying in bed. I cannot possibly be judged by my alarm clock.
Yeah.
So we turned it off, and then obviously left it until the Monday morning.
But yeah, I got into bed and it started playing, like, gentle nighttime Zelda noises by a campfire. And I was like, oh, honestly, that's kind of chill to get into bed too.
Yeah, I could sit here next to a little campfire.
And it seems pretty decent at being, like, for a digital faced clock. It fades and dims the screen based on time of day and by the light levels. You turn the light out in the room, it'll, like, turn the screen off. Unless, you know, maybe after a while of being in bed, you start moving around, you wave your hand in front of it or whatever, it'll dimly turn the screen back on to be like, hey, here's the time, don't worry about it. I'm like, that's pretty neat. It's very Nintendo.
It is.
It's the most Nintendo of a thing.
I would be genuinely curious how well it would do at waking us up, because at the moment it's set to 1/4 the time we get up.
Yeah.
But we also both have alarm clocks going for at least, I want to say, an hour and 3/4 before that.
We're not relying on this as the wake up alarm, but this is very much we like to cuddle and snuggle in bed before we get up and be all cozy.
Because we gay.
Yeah, because we gay. Because we married people who we like.
What?
You know, we didn't do the straight thing of hating.
We're going to get in trouble. We're doing marriage wrong.
I know, we're doing marriage wrong. But I might move it, like, even slightly closer, like 5-2, when we get up, to be like, that's the alarm that when we hear, you know, Zelda music starts happening, it's like, okay, we actually have to fucking get up now.
Oh, I was going to suggest we set it to, like, 22 actually getting up, so that when it is actually time to get up, it's going full chaos.
Do you want me to do that tomorrow? Just leave it and let it do its thing for 20 minutes and see how bad it gets. Because I'm up for that. I'm up for letting it get as bad as it gets. But yeah, it is... The way I ultimately think about it is, upon seeing the leaks about the Switch 2 being basically the Switch again, but slightly more, there's a little bit of me that was like, look, I think this is ultimately for the best, and I'm kind of glad that Nintendo's not breaking what's not broken. But part of me was like, I'm a little sad that Nintendo, the weird, wacky toy company that loves to just fucking throw weird shit out into the world,
hasn't given us another Labo equivalent.
Not even that, like, just that they don't get to put another one of those out. It's not even that I necessarily want it, but I want to know that they've got an outlet. And then this gets announced, and I'm like, okay, Nintendo, you're still Nintendo. You still, like, even if you release the Switch but a bit better, I can still rely on you to be like, yeah, here's our next new weird little thing. I don't know. It's Nintendo doorbell, and if you don't answer the door quick enough, Bowser throws fireballs at you.
At your delivery driver?
Yeah, Nintendo, if you do that, you gotta pay me now, because I said it out loud. So, Nintendo doorbello. Nintendo doorbello, patent Laura.
You won't be able to put Ring Fit Adventure on that, because somebody will be suing them.
But yeah, what about you? You played anything else this week?
Yeah, I've been playing the remake of Strider. So Strider was an arcade game that I think I initially played on the Mega Drive. And you are quite an athletic person. You do these little sort of cartwheel sideways jumps. Mm-hmm. You've got your little like ice pick things, and you can climb up walls or dangle off ceilings. The motion feels very cool. You do this big like sweeping arc sword strike thing, and you've got like a weird wispy like scarf thing going on that maybe is digital. Who knows? And the creature design in it always felt like weirdly bioorganic. Now, I've had this game for ages, and I tried to play it on PC, and my PC just went, fuck off, for some reason. So I never got it to run. But it runs. It was one of the things I noticed quite early is listed as, like, verified for Steam Deck. So I was like, cool, I'll dig it out of the crap that doesn't work folder of my Steam Steam archives and give it a go. I'm enjoying it. It is as difficult as I remember Strider being. It's got slightly more Metroidvania vibes, which I'm quite appreciating. And I'm enjoying more Strider.
Yeah.
Good, nice graphics that are real nice, like 2.5D. Like lots of really lovely depth on like the level designs. I just did a whole area that was like a train station. So occasionally, like I'd hop between platforms as like trains were thundering through and try not to get like smacked in the face. And like just got your typical like double jump and things, slowly leveling up and feeling more awesome. But it's bloody hard. Yeah, nice to play. And what about you? You played anything else?
Nah, that's it for me, really. Yeah, what about you? Anything else?
I have been futzing around with Scratch, the programming language for kids, because I have started doing a free online programming course, and week 0 of that is do a thing in Scratch. So I am currently making a endless runner type game where you just duck and jump from jump over bunnies, duck under parrots.
Yeah.
And it randomly generates like clouds going past and little bits of leaves and trees in the background. And I might have overdone it a bit, because looking at some of the demo games, there's just like, can you put rubbish in the bin? Can you put the rubbish? The rubbish is going to fall from the sky. It doesn't matter if you don't catch it, it will just land on the floor, and then you can move it into the bin. Ta-da! Yeah, I might have gone a little bit overboard on this.
Hey, there are worse things to do than going a little overboard.
You
learn how to do a thing.
It was only week 0, and also, like, I think it has helped me. I've tried to use Scratch in the past, and I kind of did the tutorials, but I think watching a 2-hour lecture about trying to understand abstraction and some of the concepts behind that, and how you can like just think in human language through a thing, and how you want to do a thing, and how you can like perhaps abstract some of the processes and then send that into a programming thing, helped me approach a thing in Scratch, a program that I have not used in apparently 9 years, to just dive back in and give that a try. And I picked most of it up pretty quickly, which was quite nice. So yeah, I've been enjoying futzing around with Scratch.
Yay.
I basically made a game in a day.
Hurrah!
It could do with some tidying up, but it work. It work. What about you?
Well, that's it for me.
Well then,
Time for this.
are you looking for a volunteer hip squad for the betterment of humanity? We've got smart suits. We've got professional tools. We've got... So if you know of a billionaire out on their yacht, let us know, and we'll make sure they're never seen again. Dial an orca, because the world can afford everything but greed. Are you tired of want to pick up a new skill, and after first lesson you are not pro level at thing?
Yeah.
Try, but it's hard. It takes all the, but it's hard, and makes it not that. Order now and get a massive discount of up to 100% off if you're just a neurodivergent little bean who deserves a break.
That's me.
But it's hard, because everything else is hard enough already. Hey Laura,
Yes.
we got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you enjoy television?
I do, yeah.
Do you
Funnily
enjoy, like, series?
Yeah,
things?
I love a good multi-series running show with like a good, long-running arc.
Yeah, do you hate it when, like, there is a promising series
Yeah.
and it seems like it's going to be all real good?
Yeah.
But then they just there's like a big cliffhanger at the end of the first series, and then before you know it, series has been cancelled.
That's pretty fucking annoying, yeah.
Has that happened to the point where, like, there's a series that's out, and you're like, oh, I'm enjoying this series, I could watch more of this, and there's only 2 more episodes to go. Oh, it's been cancelled.
Sometimes
I don't even know if I can be bothered to watch the end of this now.
Yeah, sometimes I struggle to even start a show. I'm like, if it's as good as people say it is, what if it stops midway through? I'm not ready for that.
Well, that's where this week's sponsor come in. This is don'tgetinvested.lol.net. It blocks mentions of TV shows on social media until they've wrapped, with a satisfying conclusion, to save you the heartbreak of cancellation on a cliffhanger.
Oh.
So that's don'tgetinvested.lol.net, enter the code Q&PS 325, enter the code Q&PS 325, and you can get a massive 25% off your first month of this.
I can't wait to, in about 4 years, get recommended a show that got its full run and not watch any other TV.
Well, imagine. So, what have you put in your eyes?
There's 2 main things that we've watched together this week.
Yes.
We had a very movie-y weekend. We both got vaccinated at the weekend, and then we're like, let's
Let's
just
go and lie in the dark.
sit in the dark and not think about our arm hurting.
Yeah.
Which one should we start with? Should we talk
start
about them in
with
the
the first
order
one, I guess.
the order we
Yeah.
saw them in? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to start us off on Transformers 1 as the resident Transformers fan here?
Yeah, we went to see Transformers 1, a film that I'd heard some Transformers fans going, oh, no, grumble about. And I'd gone, the trailers made me laugh.
I'd heard a good amount of positivity from Transformers people about it.
I think it depended who you were listening to.
Yeah.
But like anything, you get those fans who are just like, oh, it's not G1, fuck it.
The impression I got before having seen it was the people who take their love of Transformers a bit too seriously might not get on board with it. But if you're like, look, I'm okay with being a little silly about it, there was some stuff to enjoy in the lore.
It feels like the kind of people who get angry that Star Wars is a series for kids got mad that Transformers 1 is clearly a movie for kids.
Honestly, you're kind of right. That's pretty good. But yeah, the trailers are a little bit like, we want you to think this is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Watching it, that's not like a million miles away from the tone, but I thought they did a good job of balancing that with an actual engaging plot going on.
Yeah.
And some character arcs where I was like, look, occasionally something will like be a little bit abrupt, but on the whole, I think you did these characters some really interesting texture.
I've never read the comic books, so I don't know like a lot of the stuff that this is referencing. But, like, I have an Alpha Trion toy, so I recognised Alpha Trion from face, if not, like, the rest of the body stuff. I recognise Orion Pax, I have an Orion Pax. So, like, I got, like, and I knew some of the stuff about, like, the miners. So, like, I wasn't completely lost on all of that backstory stuff that has been covered in other Transformers, because, like, I didn't like Beast Wars.
Yeah.
I wasn't super into, like, Gen 2 stuff, so my memories are I watched, G1 Transformers, and I have watched the Transformers movie, the movie, multiple times over the years, but, like, not a lot of the extended stuff since then, and I've got a whole bunch of, like, Transformers toys.
Yeah.
So, like, I was just like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
This seems like a fun adventure. Like, yes, I agree that there is at least one thing that does feel a little bit abrupt for a movie of that length.
Yeah.
But also, there's some good stuff in there. Like, the workers unite, rise up against your oppressors and so forth.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of earning their you can come from nothing, and that doesn't mean you can't rise up and, power of the people, stand up against your oppressors. I think they do that well. Yeah. I think for a good majority of the film, I think they do a good job of making... Like, this is an origin story, ultimately, for Optimus Prime and Megatron. I don't think that's spoilery to say.
That's in the trailer.
I really like the route they take with Megatron for most of this film of, like... This is not fundamentally a bad person. This is a person who has a understandable amount of fury in response to oppression and injustice. And I think that, like, they do a good job of pitting. It's really understandable how two people would take wildly different responses to how you need to deal with oppressive rulers, and that is fundamentally the kind of thing that could really shift two people apart.
Yes, I would be curious where this story goes from here, because it does seem like they would be perfectly happy to continue with a sequel.
Yeah, I feel like right toward the end they do go a little bit, but he's the villain though.
Yes, and I think that's what I would be interested in. Like, I think that would be what makes or breaks a sequel, because based on how Megatron D16 progresses through Transformers 1, to then go, this is the Megatron you know in Transformers 2, I guess. That, I think, would absolutely, like, break the whole thing apart.
Yes, I think you would need to do some hard work to go, how do we keep him feeling like a person who is, like, you might not agree with his methods, but you can understand how he got to where he did.
Yeah.
And I think... it's my one concern about how, like, slightly abruptly they did some of the he's Megatron now at the end, is... Can you, like, pull that back, like, 10% to continue him feeling like the interesting character he was in most of this?
Yeah.
Because, like, here's the thing. That concern aside, I would watch more Transformers in this universe. I thought they did a good job. Yeah. I did laugh that there were considerable points in this film that directly made me think about Season 1 of My Hero Academia, which is not where I thought I would be comparing this film to. But it really feels like Deku trying to do the school festival without being able to use his quirk and having to, like, do a big explosion to fly across the minefield. Like, that, but it's Transformers, is a whole thing for a while, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though. I had a fun time with it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think they did a good job. I was surprised by some of the voice cast. But yeah, I think I won't say who they are because I don't want to spoil them, because it might be like, yay, the thing.
I liked the tangibility of the transformations. I thought those were good.
Yeah, it felt... But the other thing that, like, even though Michael Bay is listed as a producer on this film, I think it managed to avoid what the Bayformers movies had done right from the beginning. The action is followable.
I've just had a phrase come into my head, and I feel the need to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the Transformers transforming, unlike the live-action Bay films, doesn't look like silver spaghetti being looked at on acid. The more you try and look at it, the more it just keeps moving and shifting, and it won't stay still.
Well, it doesn't matter what I was going to say now.
you understand why I had that thought. I had to say it.
Yes.
Yeah. You're not looking at silver spaghetti on acid. It can stop and just be in one place.
Yeah, it's the transformations feel like, yeah, I could probably do that with a toy.
Yeah.
They can probably make a toy of this, and it won't be like we'll need to wait best part of 20 years before they can make a good version of Hot Rod, because he was never designed to transform from that shape to that shape and actually look like both of those things properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ultimately think, if nothing else, I really like the arc of, like, this is a very believable Optimus Prime who I could believe most of the Transformers society falling in line behind this.
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, this as a leader and being like, yeah, you understand the plight of the people, but you also have the power to rule in the right way now you're there. And I think you did that journey really well.
Yes.
Should we talk about the other thing we saw this weekend?
A thing that also involved a robot.
A thing that also involved a robot.
A wild robot.
It's called The Wild Robot.
Yeah.
And I cried a lot during this film.
I also cried a lot during this film.
It was fucking beautiful.
It really was.
I don't know the last time that my top two films of a year were as diametrically opposed as they are this year, because right now it's The Substance and The Wild Robot, and they could not be more, like, completely different from each other. The Wild Robot is the story of a robot that washes up on an island, and it just wants to be helpful because that's what it's programmed to do.
It's programmed to basically sell itself as the helper robot.
Exactly. Give me a task and I will do it.
But there's no humans on this island, just small woodland creatures.
Yeah, and
who
then
are very confused when they get stickers.
Yeah, with little QR codes on them to be like, help.
Potential future customer.
Yeah. And then, through a series of events, a little gosling is born that comes out of the egg and imprints on the robot, and now the robot is the mother to the little baby goose, and now adorableness.
Now adorableness beep, as robot raises runt.
Yeah, beep boop processing. No. Everything about this film is so fucking perfect. I love it. It's wonderful.
It's got a beautiful painterly art style.
It does. Wonderful voice cast.
Yes.
It's a film that, like, doesn't feel like it has any wasted space in it.
No, it moves along at a fair pace.
Never feels rushed, but never feels like anything is padding. Like, there's never a point where it feels like it needs to stop and explain itself as it goes. But also, like, so many things happen in it, and every one of them I'm emotionally invested in.
And also, despite being rated U for Universal, it doesn't fuck about with its themes. Like, I think they've talked about death like 20 times in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, the one example I will give is a mother possum being like, yes, me and my 7 children, sound from off screen. 6 children. It's like, okay, cool.
Okay, this is what nature is like, huh? It's pretty unforgiving.
Yeah, it is a film that feels like it has way more narrative arcs in it than its runtime should allow. And every one of them feels complete and satisfying.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It is the best animated film I've seen in a long time.
It's got some beautiful stuff about the nature of being a parent. And how that can feel on either side of birth.
Yeah.
How that can feel as a, like, your child literally, in this case, flying the nest.
Yeah, the difficulty of finding out that your, like, family situation isn't what you understood it to be, and that being complicated to process. Trying to go and get independence, and then realizing that maybe you do sometimes kind of just want to come home and family be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff about, like, the journey from I'm just here because this is the right thing to do or the thing I'm supposed to be doing to I'm emotionally invested, and now the thing I was doing because it was sort of rote and expected is now my everything.
I have to do And now I want to do.
The difference between I have to do and I need to do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a fucking masterpiece, that film.
It is. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talking about like how important this film is just to the animation industry as a whole. Because like animation is pretty fucked right now thanks to streaming services who don't value animation and like keep cancelling things.
Yeah.
So to go to an actual cinema and see like pretty much the whole place packed out.
Yeah, for a not a sequel, not a franchised property animated film that was like an absolutely artistically beautiful experience, and see that cinema pretty packed out is like that's wonderful. That's what we need. Please make more shit like this.
Yeah.
It was I need to keep an eye on the creative team behind this and what they do next, because like this is like a once in a generation film. It's fucking wonderful.
It reminds me, I feel like a lot of people were saying a similar thing about Klaus when that first came out, as like a whole thing of like, look, the animation industry is struggling right now. Go support like animations that are original, and because I think that like a lot of that might have been hand drawn. I feel like that was a thing that was said. Something about that animation style was, yes, we absolutely need to be supporting this kind of animation as possible, because it is really beautiful, and they can tell stories that no one else can tell, and, like, there's just not enough really good animated stuff. But also, like, there is, and when we get beautiful things like Scavenger's Reign, cancelled after one series.
Yeah.
What? That show is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Picked up. And then, like, you have to kind of hope that some of the worst people in the world get enough numbers on it so that they will make it, fund a second series. Which I wouldn't get my hopes up about, because it's fucking Netflix who currently, like, have the rights to that and are showing that. And we have to, I guess, hope that they make enough money that they think it's worth.
Yeah.
Actually making at least one more series.
If you care about animation, go out of your way to see this film if you can. It's so good. It's so good.
Please. I love animation.
I don't want to talk too much about specifics of it, because it's a robot and a little baby goose, and that's all you need to know. If that sounds cute, if a little baby goose going beep boop processing sounds adorable to you, you need to see it. He's so very good.
If you want to hear Matt Berry as a grumpy beaver,
Matt Berry is a very grumpy beaver. he's the grumpiest beaver possible. It's good. It's a good film.
It's a really good film.
What about you? You put anything else in your eyes this week?
I mean, I already mentioned that I watched a 2-hour lecture from Harvard about learning to do programming. Yeah, that I watched that. It's 2.5 hours. Fuck Harvard for getting into AI. Fuck Boston Dynamics. And fuck their stupid fucking dog. Because as much as they try and humanise that whole situation and go, oh, it's a cute dog, they are going to turn it into a war machine, and let's not beat about the bush about that.
Yeah.
So fuck them for that, but it's a free course, so it's not like I gave them any money.
Yeah.
There's the CS50 course if anyone is interested. It is in. I found it because I was reading through Godot's manual for how to get started with Godot. And one of the things they do is take you through. You can go and do to this app and do like a full beginner course on understanding GD script. And at the end of that, it's like, hey, if you like this and you wanted to know more about like programming thinking, do the CS50 course. It's free. And I have started doing the CS50 course. Nicely, if you get yourself a GitHub account, it will give you all of the Visual Studio stuff that you need without having to get a full-on copy of Microsoft Visual Studio, which is expensive, and also, fuck Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you? Have you watched anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Well then,
Time for this.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I'm brainstorming ways to make us more money.
And you have the biggest brain.
I know, my brain's so big.
So big.
So, new idea.
Right.
Pre-orders are great, because that's money now for a game later.
Yeah.
More pre-orders mean more people gave us money without knowing if the game's good or not.
Of course.
Love that for us.
Yeah.
But, there's this whole stupid movement growing of, like, maybe wait to see whether the game's good or not before you buy it, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I mean, that gets around our whole thing of, like, just throwing whatever old shit out.
Exactly. So, I've got a new strategy for getting people to pre-order.
Right.
We go grab that database of all the emails of all the people who play our games.
Yeah, and all the databases that we stole.
Yeah, I know we're not supposed to, but like we have them. But I'm specifically thinking of the people that play our games and care about our games. We email them all, and the email was simply read, "You better pre-order our next game, or we're going to spoil it for you."
Yeah.
If you don't pay for it ahead of it releasing, good luck avoiding spoilers.
Yeah.
And some of them will be like, oh, I can avoid spoilers. I just won't open any emails from Supremacy Software, if I don't want to get spoiled.
But we'll just, use other email addresses.
Exactly. We'll start, dropping messages in your gamer inbox.
Yeah, and we'll have them, right in the subject line, just, full-on spoilers.
You'll get a friend request from insert spoiler is the username. We'll drop into voice chat.
Captain Maddox dies.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get one of the interns to jump into voice chat and just start reading spoilers to you in games that aren't ours, like other people's games. We'll just hop on voice chat and shout the spoilers.
We know your gamer tag.
Exactly. I think a couple of near misses like that. We know. We don't throw the whole spoiler out straight away, but we're like, hey, we found you here in voice chat in Paint Shooter. If we found you here, we can spoil you anywhere. I reckon we could scare a few people into some pre-orders.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
You've heard of the blanket hoodie. You've heard of the blanket poncho. Well, here comes the latest in cozy that goes with you technology. The duvet onesie. This 15 togs of pure cozy that goes from your toes to a built-in hood that's big enough to go down over your nose. It's got removable mittens that seal in your arm warmth. And with a quick-release butt flap for toasty toilet breaks. Duvet onesie. It's the last word in ways to tell the staff at your local corner shop that you've given up on the social rules on a Sunday morning milk run.
Oh, hey, kitty. Hey, kitty.
Meow, busy, meow, meow, business, meow.
Oh, look at you all curled up on the office chair.
Business, meow, meow.
Hey, you wanna...
Stock portfolio with paws.
You want a little cuddle over here on my lap?
Oh, I would love to, Mummy. Have your people speak to my secretary. I will see if I have time. Stocks and bonds.
You have a secretary?
Meow, meow. Oh, yeah, apparently I'm the secretary now.
Oh. Is she free at 6, maybe 6:30 for some cuddle on the lap?
Right now that is looking free. I'll pencil you in. Obviously, sometimes the workday can run a little late, so
okay.
She'll probably have someone call you at that time.
I'll make my lap available.
Now, buy more dreamies. More spend, more injury. Oh, I hate the dreamies. Oh no, my investment has gone into my tummy. Buy more hairballs. Meow. Very stressed and overworked kitty. Meow. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Brochure Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
All right, Larry.
Right, Barry. How you doing?
Oh, I'm cold, mate. Chilly.
Yeah, winter's approaching.
I need some sort of 15 tog blanket or duvet that I can wear everywhere with me. That'd be
Wouldn't that be something? Imagine such a thing.
Yeah, you doing all right, mate?
Oh, doing all right. I've been watching some social media stuff going on. As I occasionally do. Been watching. It's not the first time I've seen this happen. But been watching someone on social media who's known for being a bit lefty. Say something not great, and when confronted by people who are impacted by what they've said, have not done the thing that is important but hard to do, which is going, yep, I acknowledge I fucked up, I will try and do better, but have instead dug their heels in and gone, no, I'm not listening.
What I did is not a problem.
Let me power through and, like, you know, not actually explain what I did wrong to people who are coming into it later, but sort of, like, summarise it in a way that makes it sound like they're unreasonable and I'm, you know, in the right.
Yeah.
And, you know, just try and, like, power through it and hope it goes away.
Yeah.
Because, look, I'm not saying it's easy to own up when you fucked up. You know, it's not an easy feeling to be like, I said a thing and, like, people got upset about it, you know, and I, in hindsight, maybe did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, doing the step of internalising, yes, I did wrong, I will endeavour to do better, is scary. You know, I understand the impulse to try and power through and come out the other side because, you know, maybe if I don't, you know, acknowledge fault, it'll go away and I can just outrun it. But, like, you're probably not going to be able to, and even if you could, like, the right thing to do is to stop and go, I did something wrong, I should probably do something about that.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, don't get me wrong, you know, I've been in situations where I've realised, you know, perhaps during a conversation that, you know, I am, you know, in the wrong, and you know, it's making the decision in the moment to go, as soon as you recognise that you are doing wrong, to go, you know what, I am wrong, and, you know, I need to, firstly apologise for that, and, you know, do some work to not do that again. And, you know, maybe I need to do some research in whatever the problem itself was, you know?
Yeah, I think the thing that's important to think about is the sooner you do that step, the easier it is. Because the more you dig your heels in, like, you know, digging your heels in, you're going to end up deeper and deeper.
Yeah,
you know,
and people far less willing to, you know, forgive.
Yeah, you are going to have, like, not only are you going to have a harder internal time, you know, changing course on yourself, but, like, if you do have that realisation, as you say, you're going to have a much higher hill to climb to get that trust back.
Yeah, you know, and ultimately, if you are the kind of person who, you know, wants to, you know, try and exist in you know, left spaces, or, you know, obviously they say, you know, the reason the left struggles as much as it does is because, you know, there's a lot more infighting about people being perfect, whereas the right wing will accept people who are almost as shit as they need them to be most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, until such time as the left has been utterly destroyed, and then, you know, they'll eat each other as they often do. You know, we do need the ability to go, you know, recognise that we have discovered a problem.
Yeah.
You know, thank the person, you know, for notifying us.
Yeah.
Do whatever it takes to, you know, maybe you need to do some reading, some understanding of, you know, whatever the subject is that you were, you know, doing something wrong about. Or maybe it's just like realising in a moment that you are reacting in a bad way about a certain thing, and, you know, you do need to just step up and go, you're right, I'm sorry, I am wrong, and I need to be better about that, and I acknowledge, you know, whatever the thing is, and, you know, I hope that in time we can, you know, you can forgive me, and or that, you know, apologising to, if it is a group in some cases, you know, apologising to that group, and you know, maybe other sorts of some sort of reparation might need to be made with that as well.
Yeah.
Fancy old mate.
Oh yeah.
Good dog, mate. Good dog. Right, I think we're going to have a little lie down.
That's good.
Nice.
So, You do things on the internet.
I do stuff on the internet.
Where can people find those things?
You'll find that stuff at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills, Blue Sky, Mastodon, all that sort of stuff. This week there is going to be on YouTube for you to see a Silent Hill 2 accessibility review. There's a video talking about how all the stuff that went on with me doing Life is Strange double exposure accessibility consulting, so you can find out about that. I will be Twitch streaming the first couple of episodes this week, so look forward to that. There is another episode of me reacting to Harura Muska, Wandering Sun. I watched through and reacted to episode 3 of that, which... the fact that I didn't realise that the sort of best friend character was also a trans woman is becoming more and more hilarious the more of it I watch. I think, in hindsight, I was just not ready for the reality that more than one trans woman could exist at a time. I was still trying to take
once in every generation a trans is born.
One trans woman being born, one trans woman existing on screen was already too much for me to stop and process. Also, 3 episodes in, I've been reminded of what the actual long plot of the show is, which is the school play, which is Romeo and Juliet, but the genders are going to be swapped. And, maybe that's going to be relevant to our 2 trans characters in some way, mayhaps.
Tap, tap, tap upon the egg with your little spoon.
Tap, tap, tap upon the egg. Hey, why don't you write the school play? Fuck, I have to think about gender now. There's a point in that, without going too deep in, there's a point in that 3rd episode where trans femme character has to sit down and go, in a world where everyone woke up tomorrow and was the other gender, how would people feel about that? I think most people would be very scared and confused, and I would be happy. Ha! And then doesn't sleep all night. And I'm like, fuck, I feel called out. Fuck. Sometimes that's all it is that just one little thing we go, oh no.
It reminds me of quite early on. I was told when I was transitioning, and someone was talking about cis people generally don't have long drawn out conversations or thoughts with themselves about what it would be like to be the other gender.
Yeah, it's that moment. So yeah, I'm a quarter of the way into rewatching this show, and I'm already seeing moments like this and going, yeah, I see how this got me to come out in a day. So if you want to go on that journey with me, there's a new episode of that to watch. All of that's on youtube.com/LauraKBuzz.
Yeah.
There's other stuff, but that's coming in the coming weeks. You'll find out about that soon. What about you? Where are you at on the internet?
Well, I don't have unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find all of the things I've written, the t-shirts I've designed, the music I've made, and maybe soon some games I have produced while learning to code. They won't be good games, but, if you want games that will be free.
Hey, I played one today. That was pretty good.
Yeah, you got to be a little unicorn that ducked and jumped, or shrunk and jumped, because magic. You can find all of that stuff over there. You can help support me at patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. For as little as $1 a month, you can help get these episodes edited. You can help me justify streaming on a Thursday. That's pretty much it for me. Laura, can you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.